Jeff Passan reveals the Yankees' master plan as the trade deadline is merely days away, and we have just received an update on what the Yankees will pursue to make their team a more dangerous threat heading into the second half of the season. We'll break down the implications of these players and how their presence will help rejuvenate a position of need for the New York Yankees. What's going on, guys? Alex Brooks back here on Yankees Digest, giving you guys a daily dose of Yankees content every day of the week. And if you guys are not subscribed to this channel, you guys better hit that subscribe button. Comment down below to join in on the conversation, as we are 30 subscribers away from 8,000 subscribers. We really appreciate all the support. You guys are doing great, but you guys better hit that subscribe button, comment down below to join in on this conversation. But let's get right into this video as talking about these deadline fits for the New York Yankees, as the deadline is next Thursday, the 31st of July. So talking about what Jeff Passan just released in his article, as these could be fits for the New York Yankees to trade at the deadline. And I want to highlight three of these guys: Jhoan, Duran, David Bednar, and Ryan Helsley. The back end of the bullpen we'll focus on for this video here on Yankees Digest. But diving right into the first guy, Jhoan Duran. He is a guy that's been very consistent so far this season, been one of the best relievers in baseball, and throughout his career, he has been that consistent closer, been that consistent reliever with an ERA under 3 in 3 out of his 4 seasons. So a guy who has just came in to his career so far and has flat out dominated and flat out came in and executed at a high level, whether it's the high leverage or in the 8th inning when he needs to hold for the closer ahead of him. He has definitely been able to be flexible in each one of his spots, and this would definitely create a lethal 1-2 punch with him and Devin Williams. And just looking at his stats so far this season, as I mentioned before, he has just been one of the best relief pitchers in the MLB, as a 1.62 ERA with 15 saves in 17 save appearances and 50 strikeouts on the season. So he definitely comes in here, has the strikeout stuff, has the dominating stuff that you can rely on when bringing him in the 8th inning, 7th inning, or the 9th inning. And a good thing that the Yankees can look at is that he has team control over the next 2 years, and that can be big for the Twins to get a good package, but also for the Yankees to maybe spend a little bit more to try to get a guy that they can control for the next couple years and have him and Devin Williams for the foreseeable future. But what Jeff Passan had to say on Duran so far this season, he said Duran is one of the best relievers in the sport thanks to his nasty stuff, headlined by a fastball that averages 100.2 miles per hour and a splinter that sits 97.5 miles per hour. He has 2 more years of team control after this season, so he demand a big trade package. And yeah, it would definitely be a big trade package when talking about Jhoan Duran, and he can be that guy, as I mentioned. He can be that number 8th inning guy. He can be that 8th inning guy right behind Devin Williams, but he also adds that flexibility that he can be the closer as well, as he's just been dominating in Minnesota. It would take a little bit more of the top process for the New York Yankees, not thinking that it's going to be Lombard or Spencer Jones, but you might have to give up one of your top pitchers that you chose in last year's draft with Hess or Bryce Cunningham, as the Twins are going to look to take advantage of this deadline and trying to sell off a lot of their major stars so far this season to try to rebuild their team for the foreseeable future. But what do you guys think regarding Duran and how he can be a very consistent and impactful player in the Bronx? But moving over to a guy like David Bednar, he is also a guy that has a lot of flexibility. He is a rental who has had his best season so far this year with a 100% save percentage. Yes, I said that. 100% save percentage. So every single time, 13 of 13 in saves so far this season. Hasn't had the flashiest numbers when talking about his record or ERA, but that's just because he's been on the Pirates, so he hasn't been able to be that flashiest closer and reliever so far this season. But if he goes on a contender like the New York Yankees, he can definitely elevate those numbers a little bit. But he definitely has that flexibility with being in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, so he can be all over the board when talking about David Bednar. And this is what Jon Heyman had to say regarding the Yankees' interest in Bednar. They say that the Yankees have been in contact with the Pirates, and one of the names that the Yankees are looking at is David Bednar. So a guy who the Yankees are definitely very interested in adding. He can definitely be a guy who can be a setup man, also can be in the 7th inning as well if they want to trust Luke Weaver to be in the 8th inning and then go to Devin Williams in the 9th. So definitely a guy who has had that experience. He is 30 years old, but he has been on the Pittsburgh Pirates. So this would be his first test being in a big market like the New York Yankees and playing very big high pressure stakes games in the playoffs. So it'd definitely be interesting to see if David Bednar could translate to that and translate into the Bronx. But a little bit more on the right-hander out of Pittsburgh. This was Jeff Passan saying, in a market replete with relief options, 30-year-old Bednar brings high-end performance without quite the price tag of his peers. His swing and miss stuff has been elite since his return from AAA, and he has had more than salvaged his trade value over his past 18 outings. Bednar has struck out 23, walked 4, and posted a 0.00 ERA. Yeah, you guys heard that right. In his last 18 outings, a 0.00 ERA. That's unbelievable when talking about a guy who has been around the block for a while in Pittsburgh, and he has been able to really just make something out of nothing with the Pirates and has really shown up when his number was called. And just a little bit more on his stats so far this season. You know, he's 2-5 with a 2.45 ERA, and he's had 13 of 13 saves with 45 strikeouts. He is a rental, so the Yankees probably wouldn't have to give up much for just being a rental at 1 year, $5.9 million. But I think the Yankees would want to pair him with a guy like Mitch Keller, Ke'Bryan Hayes, or Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to pair him there to get those stars and really take advantage of the Pittsburgh Pirates players who are really outperforming what their contract is right now. But talking about another guy regarding David Bednar and Duran, someone who is kind of under the radar when talking about Yankees possible fits, is Ryan Helsley. I've talked about him before. He is someone who is coming off 3 amazing seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals. He's a Hoffman Award winner in 2024, but his stock has been very much lower than Duran and Bednar so far this season, so it would be a less price to pay if you are the Yankees. And Yankees bullpen could definitely use a rejuvenation with Helsley, who has been dominating these past 3 seasons in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Just has struggled a little bit in 2025, but you know, Matt Blake and the pitching staff have that resume and have that repertoire to change and help Helsley to develop a little bit more so far this season. And looking at what Jeff Passan had to say regarding Helsley, he said Helsley had the 4th best WAR among relievers last season and in a contract year now, but he has been notably worse this season. His stuff and location are similar, but the main difference is that his fastball is getting hit hard, with one byproduct being his spiking home run rate. And that was Jeff Passan regarding Ryan Helsley. And looking at all 3 of these guys, Duran is the more consistent guy in regards to stats, innings pitched, ERA, and strikeouts. Helsley has a little bit more saves because he is on the St. Louis Cardinals, who are a little bit more competitive this season. And then when talking about K percentage, walk rate, and walks, Bednar is leading the pack there. So all three guys definitely have the stuff to be elite closers, elite relievers who can add a lot of experience and a lot of production to this Yankees squad, to this Yankees bullpen, who has been hit hard with injuries and been a little inconsistent at times. So, yeah, so all three of those guys, definitely interesting guys that the Yankees could add at the deadline. What do you guys think regarding all three of these guys? Who do you want most out of all three of these guys, and who are you looking to add to this bullpen that can be a 1-2 punch with Devin Williams? But that's going to do it for another edition of Yankees Digest. We appreciate all the support you guys are giving us, and let's go Yankees, guys.